Hi, Tom and Edward. Welcome to LA from New York. I want to ask you a few questions about being designers and architect team that you are. I know that you guys are working currently with a lot of individuals and you're also expanding into hotels. But my big question is, how do you merge two households? A lot of people probably come to you with decorating and architecture ideas who are adults and have their own firm idea of fashion and interior design and color. How do you talk to them to sort of merge their design ideas?
Do you want to start? I will start. Well, that's always the fun part, is having two different people come from two different perspectives. And I think they come to us because they share the same vision or a similar vision to what we have as a firm. So both Edward and I are lucky enough that we have very similar tastes. We understand quality, we understand the level of detail, the exacting standards. And those things are most of the stuff that our clients appreciate. Whether they can actually put a finger on exactly what it is, or why the husband or the wife, or the boyfriend or the girlfriend, or whoever, what they like about a certain thing is not really usually the driving issue. It's mostly what they like is that there's a certain feeling that they get when they see what we do. So what our process entails is that we take both sides, we put them together, and we structure it in a way that we can translate their ideas into something that we, with our aesthetics, right? I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's very important for us to first of all acknowledge what they're looking for and understand what it is the two individuals want for themselves. And that goes back to what Tom says, about capturing the feeling they want to feel ultimately in their house, how they want people to convey them, and the overall experience that they want in their home. Sometimes they both want absolutely different things, but there's a way to merge the two by acknowledging both those things. And that's where our experience, our knowledge, our wealth of knowledge really comes in, and we translate what that is for them in a way that's going to make everybody happy. But the first thing to do is really acknowledge what they're looking for and figure out what that is, and let them know that we're the ones that are going to make that happen. It's not about one sofa, it's not about a certain color, it's about capturing the feeling, and that's done through research, development, and the right execution of our project.
And no matter how different the point of views are for the couple, there's usually a common ground, and we're usually that common ground that they both agree to, and that they like the solutions and the designs that we've come up with in the past. They've either seen our webpage or seen publications, whatever it is where they've seen our work, that's the thing that they both agree to. And we all work towards that and kind of expand that some, so that in the end, the core of the design is based on our aesthetic, but that we have their influence in there that kind of keeps it very unique to that couple.
Yeah, and lastly, their thinking and their ambitions usually make our projects that much better, because it challenges us to go outside of what we're comfortable doing. And all of a sudden we're coming up with new ideas, and it's our job to inform them of things they're not aware of too. So they might say, okay, I want X. We'll show it to them, and then we'll show them better versions of it, or our interpretation of it, and all of a sudden, and X plus X, Y, and Z sometimes. And then you get a really full product, and that can be by expanding the project from just architecture and interior design to art and accessories, and anything that really fits into the home. It's about a lifestyle change.
And seeing your website as well as the furniture designs that you all have, it's a very clean, comfortable line. But I was wondering, when you're trying to articulate to the average person, what samples do you use? I know everyone loves that kitchen from the Diane film.
Something's got to give.
Something's got to give. And I know 15 years ago when that movie came out, everybody was asking for that. Are you all finding that still everyone's looking for that sort of casual kitchen or something they see in a TV show or a film?
Well, that we think is very successful because of the circumstances of the film and the design. It's a very light, clean, very easy look to appreciate. It's a typical Hamptons look, but I think it's also important to understand that the circumstances of the movie allowed for that space to feel even better for most people. You have a conversation between women that felt right. I think a lot of girls can relate to what's happening in the space beyond the architecture. if there was a horror scene in a movie or something like that happening in the same kitchen, no one would have noticed it.
Well, they might notice it, but they probably wouldn't be like, hey, can I have a kitchen like
Right.
that?
They're going to remember it as a bad experience, and so we get a lot of times people looking at our work and seeing that same feeling of feeling calm and easy. Everything's well thought out and organized, and that's what they're looking for. We'll then learn about the client and then interpret their personalities and character into the space through our process.
Well, I think the thing about that kitchen in particular is that that kitchen, or the design of that kitchen, acts as a character in the movie, right? It's another personality that's in there that just promotes that kind of lifestyle. And in essence, when people see our work, there's a certain kind of aesthetic value that they may be striving toward to say, that's what I want. I want to live like that. And ultimately, that's what we're trying to define, whether it's through furniture, through just interior design, decorating, architecture, or clothing design, whatever other avenues that we decide to affect. It's really about us being able to say, hey, this is a lifestyle brand that we want you guys to come and experience. And that's what, like Eddie said, that's a very shingle style, Hamptons-esque, relaxed beach house kind of thing, and it's very easy to have a very fun time there. People use that, and then we take that as one of many examples of how to come up with a solution for a kitchen, and then we present them with other options or other alternatives.
So I know you both have traveled internationally as well as lived overseas. How's that affected your design aesthetic?
For me, traveling really allows us to work at a much higher level than we would have if we were just exposed to the things that we saw in New York, for example. And New York obviously has tons to see, so even living in New York for me personally gave me an edge, I think, on maybe someone who hasn't been exposed to everything that you can see there, all the culture, the different styles of architecture, and the high level of design that's in New York. But living in Paris when I was younger, traveling all over Europe my entire life has also exposed me to the different versions of everything that's out there. And we get to draw from that every time we make a decision. You've seen the best of everything, and it really helps translate our work from mediocre to maybe great. Understanding the details and decisions and processes from the different layers of history that you see, especially in Paris, is really helpful in challenging us to do better. I sit in Paris and I see, during Fashion Week, for example, I'll sit at a restaurant and you're seeing the best lines in every field come together, and you're like, wow, I mean, it just puts me in my place, and it focuses me on what can we do to be at that level. What are they wearing? What are they talking about? And that's really what's important. So it's an evolving thing, design. It's a process within the firm and throughout our lives.
But I think the biggest thing about traveling and being or living in different parts of the country is that it changes your point of view or your perspective on things, and you become less myopic about how you want to see things, where everything is internal. It's not just a dialogue about me and Eddie's wishes about how we want to do things, but we can then, like you said, draw from other regions, other countries, other designers that have either design solutions that are in a certain way, and then we can consider that instead of just saying, well, we're from New York, this is how we design things, this is how we're going to do it, let's just kind of keep it within that. So what it does is it gives us an ability to broaden our vision and then draw within from a bigger pool of references so that we can then kind of create a continually evolving design that each time we think, at least, becomes more sophisticated, becomes more robust, becomes smarter, and
You wonder, you go to different places and you wonder, why do they live differently than us, and why does it work there and sometimes not here, and could it work here? So how are we going to improve our lives? Yeah, how do we make it work? How does the orientation of space in a room, maybe in Mexico, challenge us to rethink how we might do things here? I know in America, because the family has become so centralized around the kitchen, most of our projects now have an open kitchen to the living room, and the idea of closing the kitchen off is not important to most people anymore. They don't mind seeing what goes on there because it's become integrated into family life. When you go to Paris, the rooms are tiny, spaces are much smaller, but people all come over and they make dinner every single night. It's not like in America where everybody goes out every night. Because of the fact that there's not a supermarket on every street, people tend to stay home more in European countries and gather together in a different way. So all that stuff really is important to consider when we make design solutions aesthetically and functionally.
One last question. What country's architecture or even region architecture design are you interested in sort of incorporating in the next big project that you all are looking at?
I personally have been following, I love Italian architecture. Not necessarily the modern Italian, but maybe I should, yeah. And I think what it is that the Italians, in the same way that they use, what their views on life are, and the way that their culinary expressions, it's very simple. Keep it pure, keep it real. And the way when they construct buildings, I was very influenced by a professor of mine, Leonardo Ricci, who taught me at a very early age that you have to have a clear idea. You have to structure that idea, and then when you give it form, it has to be pure. So that kind of mindset has led me to where we are today, and that what we do, and as you stated from our website, is very clear, it's very organized, it's understated, it's very pure. And I still search for that when I go to Italy. I'm not saying every Italian designer has that, but I think a lot of the old, like Tuscan villas, the churches, there's a very clear vision as to what the solution is, and how to use materials and how to use ingredients to really make that come to life.
And for us, it's really taking all those things and making it your own. I don't have any specific region that I'm drawn from, but for me, it's more about the materials and how that translates through a building, through a space, how everything ties in together. And I'm more obsessed about stylizing architecture rather than coming up with new forms of architecture. My background's more in interior design, so I really like to see aesthetically what's the most pleasing, and then come back to the office, take all those pieces together and make something new. The materials and expressing yourself through the details in those materials is really important to have in a product that's unique, elegant, and memorable, really, and your own. So it's really important to do all those things.
Thank you